Hi, we're Jordan and Jordan Downhour.
We met in 2014. When we met, I was actually in the Army at Fort Stewart. I had just returned back from a deployment to Afghanistan. And then fast forward to medically retiring out of the military. I struggled with a lot of anxiety and depression, things that came from combat and PTSD, which led to me drinking a lot. In 2016, our son Jalen was born. He had a very normal birth. Everything was normal, except for the fact that he was not progressing like our oldest son. And so we started to have some questions.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time looking for answers and help and resources, and we weren't getting the things that we needed. So we decided that we needed to move to be closer to Duke, where we could see a lot of specialists and have resources and things that would be helpful for him.
I was still having the issues that I was having while she was struggling with the emotional burdens of being a mother and trying to care for a special needs child. At that time, she got pregnant with Josiah, our youngest son. He was about 2 weeks old, and he was taken in an ambulance to the hospital. He was actually in what they call SVT. He was put on a helicopter and life flighted. The Duke Life Flight medic came up to me and said, your son's in very bad shape, and I don't know if he's gonna make it to Duke. We're gonna do everything we can.
And that was just another piece of trauma to everything else that had already happened. And it just kind of sent everything that was still spiraling into an even bigger amount of chaos.
At this point, me and her were essentially roommates. Things got a lot worse. I left and I went to, I said I'm going to the beach. I remember waking up in a hotel room, very hungover, and I looked at my phone and there was a text from my wife that said, I'm leaving and I'm never coming back. I eventually attempted suicide. After that, I went to inpatient facility where I was actually given correct medications that helped me. My wife actually returned home while I was in the inpatient facility. We knew that something had to change after all that. We knew that something had to change between us.
So we applied for a job here in Georgia and ended up getting the job. So we moved here at the beginning of 2023. He was focused on the new job and life was getting better for him. He had gotten the help that he needed, but I was still struggling with everything that had happened over the last 9 years, and now we were here in Georgia and everything that we had before moving was gone. We lost all of our resources, our team of doctors, and all the things that we relied on, and so I was seeking comfort for those things that I didn't have, and I was seeking that with someone else. We split up for a little while and decided that everything had to be different. I just kind of said, I'm just going to read the Bible, I'm going to figure it out. You know, everybody says Jesus changes everything, and what else is there to try, because nothing's been working. I was in Brunswick and I saw like a homeless guy outside, and just looking at him, he looked on the outside the way that I had felt on the inside. Since that day, life has never been the same again. So at the end of 23, we knew that it was time to find a church, a place to go. So we just started looking at different churches online, and we found Christ Church.
We knew that it was the right place when our kids were going to Christ Kids. A few weeks later, we saw that a sensory classroom was opened up, and we actually both cried that day, and we said, this is the place for us. This is the first time that we feel like our whole family fits in somewhere. A couple months later, there was baptisms ongoing. We're in regular clothes like we are now. And my wife is never a person that says, come on, let's go, like, let's go do this. So I could kind of feel her getting closer to me in my seat, and then she grabbed my hand and said, come on, let's go. Since being baptized, we both serve, and we actually partnered with Christ Church. Our youngest, Josiah, is plugged in with Christ Kids Preschool.
You know, I always heard that Jesus changes everything, and I really believed it until it actually happened. And he truly has changed every part of our family. And it's taken a lot of the pain away of having to carry things that we don't have to carry. It's shown us the way that we should be living, and that there is a better life than the one that we had before, and it's truly a life that's worth living.